Hey everyone, how are you this fine Thursday? Wherever Thursday finds you. Well, it's awfully good to see you. I hope you're doing well and that, hey, we're going to have fun. I think this is going to be fun. I haven't been enjoying it. I don't know about the rest of you, but, you know, someone was talking about the books, how they can get addictive, ain't it so? Hey, Peter, good to see you. Brad, hello. Let's see. Al, good to see you. Light Bear, Sovereign Archer, hello. Man, there's a lot of people here. Good conversation earlier. Hey, Franny, if you're heading back, safe travels. Brandy, good to see you. Hello, Warrior Queen. All of the moderators, so good to do you. See, my dear, Lost in Space and Material Classified. David, always good. David's a good guy. Ellen, y'all are all good. Hey, Sandy, good to see you. Hadley, hello. EO, good to see you. Man, there's just, hello, Josh, hello, how are you? Man, a lot of people. Ian, good to see you. I'm just trying to say hello to all that I can. Beautiful, beautiful day. So, let me invoke favor on everyone. Yeah, I'm going to do it. We're good at casting spells here. The kinds that are good, where we can actually spell it. And favor is the best thing. Testifying to this, hear me out. I've been doing this now. Our challenge started on Tuesday, and day 3 is even more interesting. Day 1 was difficult. Don't know about you, particularly if you're doing the mantras at night as Franz in our exercise. Can we see the shirt? Okay. Yeah, I know the voices in my head aren't real, but you know what? Some of them got some really good ideas. So yeah. Hey, laughter. Laughter is really the sign of the best intelligence, is the only thing I can say. Seriously. That's all I got to say. That's what I'll testify to, and that's what I'll stick to it. That's my story. So, favor. Been talking about it in my sleep. Going to sleep now as you make that transition. All I got to say, it's far out. And so I just invoke that same kind of mind-blowing favor and abundant prosperity. May poverty never know your name, and ever complete restoration, nothing missing, nothing broken. Just thinking about all of the community members, family that, suffering, some about to depart. We just send our love to you, Patrick. That includes you. Brian, it includes you. Hey, speaking of Brian, Milky Way, I think it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, dude. And if it's not, well, hey, I'm either early or late. So just take it as the best as it comes. But seriously, Brian, if it's your birthday, man, good to have you here. We're going to have Brian on. He's a delight. So tonight on the Steiger perspective, we've got all the technical issues worked out. Nancy Addison will be there, and looking forward to it. Seeing more and more stories about cancer. Diabetes. Speaking of which, wow. It's like this freaking plague, It's everywhere. The invasion has started. Wow. That's all I've got to say. Let's get our positive affirmations out of the way. I'm loving this. I was, again, I made it to bed about 11:30 last night, and it's a delight now to begin to talk about these. It's like the subconscious is going, all right, we're buying into this. You got to keep on giving it to us, keep on feeding it, spoon feeding it to us. And this is what we're doing. All right, that's it. We'll get right through it because we got a lot of other material to cover. God is lavish, unfailing abundance, the rich, omnipresent substance of the universe. This all-providing source of infinite prosperity is individualized as me, the reality of me. I lift up my mind and heart to be aware, to understand and to know that the divine presence, the I am, is the source and substance of all my good. I mean, unless we can, maybe, the question becomes, who generates the good? It's going to come from us anyway. I am conscious of the inner presence of my lavish abundance. I am conscious of the constant activity of the mind of infinite prosperity. Therefore, my mind is filled with the light of truth. This is what we're going to be talking about. Number 3, the light of truth. Anyone want to take a shot in the chat room? I'll look at them after the show. Tell me what the light of truth is. We say it cavalierly. Oh, it's the light of truth, man. Yeah, I know about the light of truth. No. Answer it. Number 4. This is a good one too. This is one I really was studying last night. Jeff actually did a good show on the Christ thing. Through my consciousness of myself, the God self, the Christ within as my source, I bring into my mind. Isn't this interesting? You literally have to bring it into your minds. How do you do that? By repeat affirmation. And feeling nature, which is the very substance of spirit. This substance, boy, what is faith? Now faith is the evidence of things not seen, the substance of things hoped for. This substance is my supply. Thus, my consciousness of the presence of God within me is my supply. 5, money is not my supply, nor is any person, place, or condition my supply. Think about that one. My understanding and knowledge of the all-providing activity of the divine within me is my supply. My consciousness of this truth is unlimited. Number 6, my inner supply instantly and constantly takes on form and experience based on my needs and desires. As the principle of supply and action, I want you to think about that. As the principle of supply in action, do you know what this principle is? Can you define it? Can you articulate it? Lots of homework here. It is impossible for me to have any needs or unfulfilled desires. Number 7, the divine consciousness that I am is forever expressing its true nature of abundance. Now, that divine consciousness, I often say, if it's not expressing abundance, then what is it expressing? This is, and that should actually, I think, be capitalized, its responsibility, not yours, not mine. It's not yours, darling, to be waiting, worrying in the middle of the night, trying to figure out how the rent's going to get paid and how this is going to happen. That's the problem. You've taken possession of it. No deity of any kind can ever supersede your will. So if you will it, it's yours, well, then you see the results of it. My only responsibility is to remain aware of this truth. Therefore, I am totally confident in letting go and letting God. Now, when I see the word God, my spirit, my mind hears, translates it into the infinite being. You know, you can be whatever you want it to be. For me, that's what it is. And appear as the abundant all-sufficiency in my life and in my affairs. My consciousness of the Spirit within me as my unlimited source is the divine power to restore the years the locusts have eaten. I love this one. You know, this is one that I've studied. You know, the cankerworm. Everything becomes anew. Think about that. If everything is becoming anew, it has a lot of ramifications. So it's being restored, that which has been taken from you. I said before, past good deeds, harvests. There are those that steal, both in the seen and the unseen worlds. It makes all things new and places me on the high road to abundant prosperity. This awareness, understanding, and knowledge of spirit appears as every visible form and experience I could possibly desire. What do you desire? A new home? Health? Family? Restored relationships? What is it that you desire? If it's not being fulfilled or coming to pass, the question is why? When I'm aware of the God self within me as my total fulfillment, I am fulfilled. I am now aware of the truth. What is truth then? I have found the secret of life. I've known people on their deathbed that would have given their millions to have known that. The knowledge that the activity of divine abundance is eternally operating in my life. Well, if it's eternally, then it isn't going to end. I simply have to be aware of the flow, the radiation of that creativity, which is continuously, easily, and effortlessly pouring forth from my divine consciousness. I am now aware. I am now in the flow. I keep my mind and my thoughts off this world. I place my entire focus on the divine presence within as the only cause of my prosperity. I acknowledge the inner presence as the only activity in my financial affairs, as the substance of all things. I place my faith in the principle of abundance in action within me. Far out. That's all I got to say. It's just far out. Give me 1 second here. I'm doing several things at the same time. I mean, I love that. I don't know how anyone can have any problem with that. I mean, if that's as crazy if you say, well, you know, I'm not for all that. Well, then what the hell are you for? What, being broke? Being hungry? You know? No, man. If the universe, if the infinite being, God, whatever you want to title it, is the creator of all things, then why is it stingy? Why is it holding out on us, baby? You know, we got to have a talk here, man. You know, you know what I'm saying? Don't make sense. Thank you, Warrior Queen. Thank you for hitting the like button, you sweetheart. It's kind of really basic. The question I ask people is, well, if your God is not meeting your needs super abundantly above all that you could think or ask, then what are you there for? Right. Someone asked me, sent me an email and said, having a very difficult time leaving Christianity. Wanted to know if I would do this for him, so I'm going to do it. Can I give an example in the New Testament? 3 examples of the error of the belief system. It's pretty simple, really. Number one, the Gospel of John. We have at great lengths, the writer goes to at the point of the crucifixion, at the moment of the spirit departing the body, where the person on the cross supposedly speaks in Hebrew. And we all know the saying, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? We also know as well in another story where there's a healing going on, he speaks again, and actually it's Aramaic. But they intermix it. Remember, that book was supposedly written in the Greek. It's really interesting. But so we've got two incidences there where the writer goes to lengths of actually bringing out the Aramaic spoken at the time. Well, here's my question to everyone who's breaking away from the God spell. Please tell me the three names then that Pilate supposedly had nailed above the head of the person being crucified. I'll pay you $1,000 if you can tell me. Let's go on. Isn't it odd that we have a theme of a story of a supposed prophet that is into baptism? Problem is, in Judaism, there is no baptism. Never was. Number three, to help you, and I'll give you a couple here in the book of Acts. It says in the 4th chapter where Peter and James is before the Sanhedrin, and Peter goes into this great diatribe of telling the council who this Christ was. But at the end of the book, the Gospel of John, it says that its name was proclaimed, his name, Jesus, was proclaimed throughout all Judea, Samaria, and beyond. Isn't this the same council, too, that was the one who delivered him supposedly to Pilate, but now they don't know anything about the dude? And the last one for you, I'll give you a bonus. Please explain to me in the 27th chapter of the book of Acts, when Paul is standing before King Agrippa and the governor Felix, that giving his story, and he says that this vision that he had of this Christ, that this Christ said in the Hebrew tongue what his name was. Why didn't the writer put it and leave it in the Hebrew? That they did in the Gospel of John, but you can't tell me the three names because they don't exist. Anyway, there you go. Chew on that. Good luck with it, and I wish you the best. All right. Let's get into the meat of what we're into. I want to share with you a book, because we're going to be talking about dominions. I got a PowerPoint that I have here, so give me 1 second as he pulls up the right one, of which I hope everyone can see that. I'm going to stop the share here for a second and see if you can. It looks like you can. All right, so let's get right back to this. So we're talking about truth. We're talking about the existence of what we live in, this supposed reality. We talk about magic. I said before, we supposedly live in a technological age of such advance of our species, but yet with a subject like magic, we revert back to the Stone Age of rubbing two sticks together to get fire. And that's where it's mostly at with most people. And it's a shame, and we know that. So one of the things that has always struck me when I was in the Christian religion, this one passage in Ephesians was one I spent decades on it. Because we know that where this came from, it came from Lilith, the Liber Lilith. And it says, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, contending only with physical opponents. Now, this is out of the Amplified, but against the rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly supernatural places. Now, this is in the King James. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of, and notice this, they put the A in there in parentheses because someone apparently changed the structure of the sentence, because it takes on characteristics. In other words, if you have the rulers of the darkness, or if you have rulers of a darkness, two totally different environments here. So we're going to take it as a pluralistic thing, kind of a combination of both. Against the rulers of the darkness of this age, you have to ask, is this an extenuation of an age? Are we at an end of this dark age? I mean, it's so ambiguous. You have to say, all right, what is it? Against spiritual host, that's plural, host of wickedness in the heavenly places. Well, there's a lot to digest on this. I mean, this is a structure. Now, they obviously, for their team, massaged it, homogenized it, and reconstituted it for their side. But we're just going to take it for what it is, what it means literally, and take no sides of it all. Remember, in Hermetics, no matter what your position is, there's an opposite, sweetheart. You can never be of one side, not at least in this reality. So let's take a look at the list here of what this has ramifications as you get into the spiritual realm. Ignorance is going to kill you. You don't want ignorance. Study to show thyself approved. Initiate. So in the list, we have principalities, rulers, powers, a darkness of something. Not sure what it is, but it's something. World forces, host of other spirit beings. And then we have this thing taking place in the heavenly, capital H, signifies a destination. The heavenly places, not one place, places, a supernatural place. All right, come on, you empath, we're smart people in this community. Stop, ponder, question, what is this supernatural place that apparently exists within these heavenly places? Each have a structure to it. So let's talk about principalities. What are principalities? Most people don't know. One, a state ruled by a prince. I've said we know who the prince of darkness is, so who's the king? Who's the god of darkness? Well, could there have been a god of darkness if there wasn't first darkness, or was it light? Two, in traditional Christian angelology, the fifth highest order of the ninefold celestial hierarchy. Ninefold. So we're dealing here with principalities. These are beings, entities, apparently mighty, powerful beings. And we're getting in here, they're of the fifth order in this dogma. 3, the state, office, or authority of a prince. Getting back into this prince. So obviously now we have identified there's not a prince, there are many princes. 4, the territory or jurisdiction of a prince, the country that gives title to a prince. This has all sorts of subsets to it, because we've seen in this hierarchy, we're going to see the very supreme, and it gets really complicated quick. Philo said in his Cosmos of Moses, wrote and said that this is the Hebrew God, that there's no space wasted. Everything has a living force, form, presence, intelligence to it. If we could see, I mean, this is a crowded place, baby. All right, so this is the principalities. We still got to go on. Now, get this. In the third sphere, so principalities, the principalities, also known as princedoms or rulers, are the angels that, under the direction of the dominions, directly watch over large groups and institutions, including nations and the church. They rule over smaller groups of angels, rather like the middle management of an organization, ensuring the fulfillment of the divine will. In my study in this over the decades, it became very clear the reason why Magick, Agrippa, others resonate with me is that, as Agrippa taught, there has to be this cooperation. And apparently, it's not automatic. Even if the supposed big one up there says that this is its will, it can be superseded, as we learned in lesson 4. And so when you begin to look at this, principalities have 2 subsets to them. Princedoms, rulers. Each signify a title, a position, power, authority. They are also a part of the angels that are under the direction of the dominions. And in the structure of the sentence, we now have to see that under the princes and under the rulers, there are dominions, kingdoms. Each has a responsibility in the ethereal plane. Now, is this what we're going to face when we cross over? It would be a hell of a shock to a lot of people that will walk up and go, what? Whereas if you have this pre-knowledge ahead of time, you might fit in a little easier. Now, the angels of the third sphere are those who most directly guide, protect, and send messages to human beings. So who are these? How do they do this? Is it through telepathic communication? Is it through verbal communication? Is it through unctions? And this is just the third sphere. There are angels and the like in every upper and lower sphere. And it appears from this theology that they are here to guide, protect, and send messages to us, and can be likened to the frontline employees of a company directly interacting with the customer. I love that. Us. Calling number 32, you know. Yes. I have a prayer here I'd like to see, you know. While still absolutely pure, wise, and powerful, these angels are furthest from God in the angelic hierarchy, and so are better able to communicate with man in ways we can understand and even withstand. This goes on. This would have been literally a whole show, but there are apparently these beings who cannot comprehend mankind. They are but such a divine statue, knowledge, wisdom, however you want to say it, that they cannot relate to humans. Now imagine if a human had the power to invoke their name. Oh, that'll have all sorts of bad consequences. I mean, you can see a train wreck happening there. This is curious. Each one of these, and there's not, if you were to take the book of Revelation, not Revelations, get that out. Amazing how many people say that. The number is close to 100 trillion. That's a lot. 100 trillion just of these angels. It's kind of, maybe the universe isn't big enough. I don't know. Now, rulers. I found this one to be interesting. In a monarchy, an emperor and king are both rulers. So I would say that today's modern day religion of this time in this era is primarily monotheistic, patriarchal. So the monarchy is one that most governments come from, except the socialists and etc. But the powers associated with them is different. How many of you knew this? They can be compared to regional managers and the CEO of a company. An empire can have many kingdoms within it. The emperor rules the entire empire, while the kings or queens rule smaller kingdoms within the empire. While the king, like the regional manager, has total control over his territory, the emperor, like the CEO, is the one who makes the final decision for the entire region. As you begin to venture out in your own magic, it will help for you to begin to understand the complexity of the organization that we're a part of in some way. Now, understand, this is dealing with, again, primarily the Abrahamic indoctrination. But we have to deal with what we have to deal with. Gnostics know, as Alexander the Great, The reason why Alexander was so successful in his conquest is that he never denied any of those whom he conquered deny their gods. They were just absorbed. It's called Hellenism. And all religions today are Hellenistic. There is no pure religion. I'm sorry, I'm hearing a song in my head. Oh, yes, I know some of you already hearing it yourself. All right, REM. We move on. Powers. Now, power is the rate at which work is done or energy is transmitted. I brought this in because when we have offices, titles, authorities, they all have the word power. You have, a world power, a government power, power of the people, etc. The powers to be. How many times have you used that vernacular? And this is what I was led to put in here. So think about power now is merely the transmutation of power, of energy. In physics, power, which is the symbol P, is the rate at which work is performed or energy is transmitted, or the amount of energy required or expended for a given unit of time, as a rate of change of work done or the energy of a subsystem. Power is, where P is power, W is work, and T is time. Photons, electrons, neutrons, source, infinite being. I contend, folks, when you pass on, does a spirit eat? Does a spirit need to recharge its energy? How does it get energy if it needs to recharge it? We know spirits can expend power, energy, kinetic energy. You can't rule unless the perception of power is there. Those of you who've been in New York City, you go down in Lexington and I'm thinking third, right? If I'm thinking correct. Anyway, you'll have the cop out there, the traffic cop at the four-way intersection. That cop cannot stop any of those cars that outweigh him 100-1, if not more. But all he needs to do is put his hand up, and they're going to stop on the brakes. Taxi cabs, everyone, they're going to stop on the brakes. That's power. The reason, if any of you guys and ladies know anyone in the law enforcement field, military, it's the rank, it's the command, it's the power. If power of that kind is in fact duplicated in the ethereal realm, kind of makes you kind of feel, well, where are you going to come in at? Are you going to come in as, a raw recruit? I mean, what's going to be your position? How do you establish your own power? Very plain that over there's a lot to it. Darkness. So this is, again, primarily from the Christian perspective, even Islam and Judaism to a degree. Satan is our primary enemy in the spiritual war. However, he does not fight alone. He is the commander of legions of soldiers. In the list, 4 levels or ranks in the demonic world. Here we now have 4 levels, 4 different ranks in this demonic world, this world of darkness, and spiritual evil in heavenly places. So I can't understand how you have this holy supposed God, and yet in his very kingdom, he's got evil spirits. A lot of religions believe that God and Satan work hand in hand. God's got him on a leash. Says, sick him, tiger. So in this discussion, we will focus on the rulers of the darkness of this world. Notice that they are rulers of darkness of this world. This is a kingdom of darkness. Henry Cornelius Agrippa told us that. Lilith told us that. This is a kingdom. It has structure. It has hierarchy. It has rules. And that darkness is the whole realm of supposedly the satanic rule. That's bullshit, just telling you. Or to the darkness of ignorance. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I put that all the way in there. The only satanic evil is the darkness of ignorance. And that's why ignorance is so highly promoted with the powers to be. World forces. This is interesting. Now, there's a certain Kabbalistic teaching that said that in the beginning, when Earth was first found, discovered, that there were 10 rulers that took over. They divided the earth up into 10 kingdoms. The one that the world is most well versed with is this one that took a very small kingdom called, Israel, Abraham's inheritance. Now, under that guise, you have to understand that God, that Hebraic God, the one that the Christians have adopted, never contended with any other of the gods of this world. Never contended with the Sumerian gods. Never contended with the Mesoamerican gods. I can go on and on. So this knowledge, and if you'll go back and look at some of my series on the bloodline invaders, I show you how it works out perfectly. So world forces, human leaders who are under the power and command of Satan. This includes those who rule in the heavenly sphere, which includes countries, different regions of the earth. It is taught that these are angels of both good and evil and serve one of the 10 gods of this realm. It makes one think that it's why one belief of a God can enter into another part of the world, another region, and that person, no matter how much they invoke their God will be powerless to deliver them when they're in another land. Doubt me? How many missionaries have been skewed? Now, the host of other spirit beings. In this realm, we'll be talking about angels and demons, respectively. We'll be talking about benevolent and malevolent spiritual beings that mediates between the transcendent and the temporal realms. That's why you can invoke them. And some will absolutely do your bidding. But it comes with a consequence. Throughout the history of religions, varying kinds and degrees of beliefs have existed in various spiritual beings, powers, and principalities that mediate between the living and the dead. So this is the structure. Give me 1 second, folks, as I get out of this. So I think you can see pretty easily at this point. Yeah, we'll be in there in a second. So there we are. Now I'm back. This is, to me, interesting in the structures when you see, as we move forward, if you begin to get into spell casting, improvement of your self-knowledge, whatever it is, seeking the guidance of these beings, I think is perfectly within our right. You just have to know the structure. I'm not, I haven't caught up in the chat room, I'm going, okay, what's going on? But I know most people don't know this. I've taught it for a long, long time. And even in Christendom, virtually all Christians are ignorant of this. It's just a fact. Now, Lilith, if you remember when we worked with her, I want to pull back up that presentation from last year, excuse me, earlier this year. So Lilith taught that the God of the sons of Adam is not the highest monarch of the heavenly zones. Now, I went back and I started looking at these words, and now you can begin to see the direct correlation. Above him dwells one so much greater that his greatness cannot be measured. Even the name of God defiles him, for he is not a God, but a singleness of being without discontinuity, no disharmony. He shines with a pure light, no one can see him. He speaks in thunder, no one can hear him. There is none existing prior to him to limit his duration. He is ineffable and perfect, standing alone, complete unto himself. Isn't it odd how Lilith, the knowledge, I continue, neither male nor female, neither large or small, neither breath nor flesh, the mind of man cannot question his qualities, for he is unknowable. He endures outside of time and encompasses duration. He is the father of eons. He rules before and above all existences. He gives knowledge, but not wisdom. Isn't that odd? Now you know why. If you just suddenly got wisdom, let me just tell you, it's not going to be that way when you cross over. You're not going to be the recipient of all of a sudden being a freaking Einstein. Wisdom will never be granted to you, never given to you. Because if it is, you won't appreciate it. You did nothing to earn it. There was nothing that allowed self to become involved. That's why this realm of the living here is the experiences in all the multifaceted aspects. He gives mercy, but it is not love. The name of him is forever unspeakable, for it are all the names and moments in the existence of all things. How do you sum up all things in a name? You can't. If ever the name of him were spoken aloud, the universe would unravel like the hem of a garment and come to an end. Now, we'll leave here because we get into how it began. I mean, that's the question all of us seek for in our journey. I do. I seek to see it all the time. So, for year of mine and your ass will follow. What movie, Girl with No Name, Spooner, did that come from? How many of you know? L.A. Story with Steve Martin. Great movie. I want to share something with you. This is an old document. It's Abdul Hazard. I wanted to read this to you. Of ye old ones and their spawn, The old ones were, the old ones are, the old ones shall be. From the dark stars they came here where man was born. Unseen and loathsome, they descended to the primal earth. Beneath the oceans, they brooded while ages passed, till seas gave up the land, whereupon they swarmed forth in their multitude, and darkness ruled the earth. At the frozen poles, they raised mighty cities, and upon high places the temples of those whom nature owns not, and the gods have cursed. Holy crap! Who and what is this? Who are they? Have you read this about in any of your stories? Most likely not. The spawn of the old ones covered the earth, and their children endureth throughout the ages. Ye shantics of Lang are the work of their hands. The Gast who dwelleth in Zen's primordial vaults know them as their lords. They have fathered the Noghog and the Gaunts that ride the night. Great, and I think that is Thulis, their brother, and Shaggoth, their slaves. The Dulls do homage upon them in the nighted vale of Noth and Gog sing their praises beneath the peaks of ancient Thork. They have walked amidst the stars, and they have walked the earth. The city of Iram is the great desert, has known them. Ling in the cold waste has seen their passing. The timeless citadel upon the cloud-veiled heights of unknown Kadoth breath their mark. I wonder if this may be where we sometimes see these cloud cities. Wantonly, the old ones trod the ways of darkness, and their blasphemies were great upon the earth. All creation bowed beneath their might and knew them for their wickedness. And the elder lords opened their eyes and beheld the abomination of those that ravished the earth. In their wrath they set their hand against the old ones, saying them in the midst of their iniquity, and casting them forth from the earth to the void beyond the plains where chaos reigns and form abideth not. And the elder lords set their seal upon the gateway, and the power of the old ones prevaileth not against its might. Loathsome Thulu rose then from the deeps, and raged with exceeding great fury against the earth guardians. And they bounded his venomous claws with potent spells, and sealed him up within the city of Raylaw, wherein beneath the waves he shall sleep death's dream until the end of the eon. Beyond the gate dwell now the old ones, not in the spaces known unto men, but in the angels between them, outside of earth's plane. They linger and ever await the time of their return. For the earth has known them and shall know them in time yet to come. And the old ones hold foul and formless Azoth for their master, and abide with him in the black cavern at the center of all infinity, where he gnaws ravenously in ultimate chaos amid the mad beating of hidden drums, the timeless piping of hideous flutes, and the ceaseless bellowing of blind, idiot gods that shamble and gesture aimlessly forever. The soul of Azoth dwell in Yog-Sothoth, and he shall beckon unto the old ones when the stars mark the time of their coming. For Yog-Sothoth, is the gate through which those of the void will re-enter. Yog, Sothoth, knoweth the mazes of time. For all time is one unto him. He knoweth where the old ones came forth in time, a long past, and where they shall come forth again when the cycle returneth. Day after day cometh night. Man's day shall pass, and they shall rule where they once ruled. As foulness you shall know them, and their accursedness shall stain the earth. Wow. I told you, and it gets better beyond that. So, reason why I brought this into the discussion is that this is a total different viewpoint of our existence. It has been rumored in many belief systems of the others. We know that Earth has transcended many times. Middle Earth, we've talked about. I believe there was the time when giants walked this planet. They were of a different species, a different time. And with all times of all ages, they begin and they end. Well, I had to practice them, Darth. So as we continue to get further into the works, we'll continue on. This is not going to stop. We're going to continue on. It lends itself for us to add to our knowledge. What we do with it, it's to you, the individual. But that's a powerful book, I got to tell you. It comes, obviously, as you can see, from Eastern philosophy, and quite an amazing story. But when you think about it, wow. Isn't magic on a certain level about opening portals? Whether it be of the mind, substance. It is said that Moshe, Tutmos, Moses, which, by the way, Moshe literally means magician. Literally. It is said that he invoked this God known as Jehovah. Nasty one. I have that one in a PDF file, Darth. You can get that one. So anyway, all right, folks, if you want to tune in tonight over artistfirst.com, I will be having Nancy on there. We're going to have her back here as well. We're going to be talking about how we can improve our health. And boy, they're really trying to stack the deck against us. So thank you, folks, for an exciting hour. For me, I got to tell you, I get excited about this. You're certainly not going to hear this at a bar or at your local church. I can assure you. Can you imagine going into a bar and start talking and say, I thought I just might bring up, about the ancient ones, the ones that were here. They came from the stars and badasses, and they're going to look at you and say, how much have you had to drink? Thank you, Warrior Cream. I love you. You're just a great person. And thank all of you. I just send big hugs out to you. And thank you for making this community what it is. Appreciate you so much. And, I'll be here tomorrow. Tomorrow we get into Agrippa. We'll close the week out. We'll start now, I think, when we start thinking of the elements and the different components to the elements, it's making sense now. When you begin to see this in correlation, that each element within itself is a kingdom. It has structure. It has rulers. It has princes. It has powers, kings, kingdoms. And how we fit into all this? Well, that's what we're here to discover. All right, folks. Much love to you. I'll see you tomorrow if I don't hear from you tonight. And in the meantime, be good to yourself. I thank you for being here. You're the best.